All right, so today we're going to be learning how to do double exposure. Double exposure was actually kind of an accident. People would accidentally send their film through 2 times and find these really interesting effects where like 2 photos were taken on one square of film, and eventually it turned into kind of a fun experimental photo thing that they actually did with film, and now it's done digitally, and it's done in film, like video film, and it's done in Photoshop. And so today we're going to be talking about the absolute easiest version of this you can do. So the first thing that you're going to need to do is, I did this one before, so I'm going to start a new file. I'm going to do mine vertical. I'm going to do just a very basic 5x7, very small. It doesn't need to be fancy, but you could probably do yours 8x10, just to kind of keep with it. I'm going to use the same photo that I used before. I had a photo that I got from Pixabay, and then I wanted to originally add some photos to it. So I'm going to actually grab a photo that I also took in color for this one, because I'm going to turn everything black and white eventually. So I'm going to start with this, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to flip so it's going the other direction, because she's kind of facing that way, and I like the way that these branches are reaching into the other side. So I place both of those images and I square them up to make sure that they're kind of lined up. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to change the way that my layer is set. So when a layer is just full opacity, it is on the normal setting. And so if I go through, I can actually adjust and change those just by scrolling through. So depending on the look you want, you can go through and just choose one of these. So I liked one that was over here a little bit more. I kind of like this one. I like this one. I like how the blue then shows through and it really cancels out her hair. Now, depending on what kind of photo, each of these are going to react differently depending on the way that the photo is adjusted on both sides. So there are 2 ways that you can erase through to give a little bit more of a manual look, a little bit more intentionality, because this is like technically double exposure has now happened. This is it. However, now we want a little bit more to it because we have the ability to be more intentional. We aren't forced to do whatever the camera says we should do. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to first use layer masking. And layer masking, you go to the very bottom here where there's a circle inside a square, set it up. Then you go to make sure that you're selected over the white square. Make sure that you're selected on brush and make sure that it's selected to black. I always call it the 3 Bs: box, brush, black. In an older version, it was brackets around the white box, and so I used to say brackets, brush, black, but now it's a box. Still a B, still works. All right, now that it's set to black, I'm going to then use that, and I'm going to erase so I can see her face a little bit better. I'm going to still use all of her like hair to kind of be the double exposure element, but I really want to see her face clearly in this. And so there I get kind of the leaves kind of going in, and it essentially kind of looks like it's going into her hair. So now I've got that set. I can be done now. But I also want to show you a different way of doing it. So I'm going to turn off the eye on this, revealing her below. And I'm going to go back to my images again. I'm going to bring in this image again. I'm going to size it. I'm going to go the other direction this time just to see what happens. And this time, though, I'm going to set it, but I'm going to try and I like how this one almost kind of makes it like blue. I'm going to turn on the opacity a little bit. So this is kind of a different version of turning, using double exposure. I like the way that it kind of tinted these colors because of the blue in the sky. It created this blue look along her hair. And in this one, I'm going to rasterize this layer instead of masking. I'm going to erase. Now, first, I'm going to make sure my eraser is right-click, eraser nice and big, very, very soft, and I'm going to turn down the opacity. I have it to like 33. I'm going to use that, and I'm going to, again, use a little bit of erasing to erase around her face to kind of create it. And it's softer, so it will still reveal. I want to keep some of this, but I want to be able to see her eyes and her lips. I might actually erase a little bit of this too to kind of reveal the background, making it a little more clean. I want it to look like it is filling the space of her jacket as opposed to just being completely overpowering. kind of really focusing the attention in on her. So that's the other way to do it. And if you look at the little thumbnail here, you can see that it's erased through the actual image. Now, the downside of this is that once it's erased, you can't go back except for by going Control Z, and then you can only Control Z so far. And so you'd have to replace the image if all went wrong. And so if you can look here, like this one, if you erase, you can always bring it back. But there is something about the quality of erasing that's just a little bit different to me. And that's why I always say there's a million roads to get to the same destination in Photoshop, and to know a few different ways of getting there kind of helps you make the aesthetic decisions of what you feel like looks best for your particular style. So the two ways of doing it is, of course, masking, and then, of course, erasing. And then sometimes even adding them together, you can kind of create something even more wild and this is almost like abstract looking at this point. Well, I think I like this one better. So I'm now going to make a new one on top of here, and I'm going to make the whole thing black and white. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to black and white. And through here, I'm going to make some adjustments so that it's really contrasted. I like the look of contrast. I don't want it to just be kind of the gray wash. So moving stuff around, kind of really bringing it in. I like how it kind of looks a little edgy when it's really dark. And so that's kind of the effect. So the beautiful thing about long exposure is its ability to share a story. And so when you are done with your image, I want you to ask yourself, what is this picture saying? Because the person looking at something, having it be reflected on them, that should give either juxtaposition, it should reveal something about what they're thinking about. And if it doesn't make sense, if you can't share a story in that, maybe that's not the right combination and you should switch them out again. So consider putting in things, replacing things. It's very easy, as you can see, to just add different images and try different ways of layer masking over top of them. So don't be afraid to just kind of swap out images till you get the story you want. And if you can't get a story out of it, maybe start over and try something different, because otherwise a double exposure has the opportunity to be very nonsensical, and you want to avoid that. You like it to look aesthetic, but you also want it to make sense and have a story. So I hope you enjoyed this very easy peasy version of double exposure, and good luck.